lawmakers in Iowa and Minnesota will be spending about 5 months debating issues important to their constituents. Often there's a sharp divide between the sides when it comes to the top priorities.
We are not talking about the divide between Republican and Democrat, but the one between urban and rural communities. KIMT News 3's Colleen O'Shaughnessy has more in this Covering Politics special report.
From January until May, 150 Iowans will spend their weeks here in Des Moines. They're charged with listening to their neighbors and speaking on their behalf. 201 Minnesotans will do the same in St. Paul. But the issues that matter to folks in, say, Rochester or Cedar Rapids are very different from those in Glenville or Rudd.
Morning, Dennis. Come on over. Saved a place for you right there where you can face the camera.
Every morning in corner stores just like this one, folks get together to shoot the breeze.
This is the best coffee in here. How many fish are they getting at ice fishing?
Hatchery getting sold.
And more often than not,
Gets to be a heated argument.
offer their 2 cents on the news of the day.
As soon as he got elected for whatever he is, gas tax.
I don't.
It's a fair tax.
Yeah, I don't look forward.
Well, depends on how much money you got.
But making sure the concerns here on Main Street are heard here at the Capitol is up to a select few, some fairly new to politics.
My wife and I have always, we've kind of always paid attention to local issues and try to be involved.
Others who are more seasoned.
And it's just an honor for me as a farm kid from North Iowa to have the opportunity to serve as the governor of this state.
Whether they're in the big office or on the House floor, lawmakers representing rural areas hear from their constituents about issues you'd expect.
We're rural. That ag economy is so important to us.
And others you might not.
Roads, critical infrastructure, education is always a top priority.
The challenge for these legislators is convincing their big city counterparts to listen.
We travel to St. Paul and spend time during the week in St. Paul, so we see their issues. The same can't be said for them.
How do we, as rural legislators, continue to advocate for what our needs are, and we don't have the majority of the vote anymore?
After the most recent election, the power between urban and rural representatives, it shifted. Here in Des Moines, there are now more people representing big cities than ever in the past. In Minnesota, the opposite is true. Rural voters are actually credited with giving Republican representatives the boost they needed to win the House.
And it is the greatest honor of my life to be elected to be the next Speaker of the Minnesota House of Representatives.
Whether elected from the right or left, the issues from small towns seem to cross political divide.
You know, there's always some disagreement between Democrats and Republicans, but coming from a rural district, a lot of times our issues are more similar. So a lot of times we find ourselves working across the aisle.
I think they're good because
I sat down with Iowa Governor Terry Branstad, who says, party aside, all politicians need to make rural priorities their priorities.
I don't think a lot of people in the capital city of Des Moines realize how dependent they are on the rest of Iowa.
But these small communities that are so important to the fabric of the state are shrinking, and it's something those who hail from them are well aware of.
We can't afford to lose any more companies from rural Iowa.
So how do we make sure our main streets don't fade away?
I don't want to see a company leave rural Iowa because we don't have population and they can't find workers. And so I think there's some things that we can do there. If it's through taxes, it's through incentives, it's through helping these folks to get the skilled worker population they need, and then just basically being advocates for ourselves.
Because the success of our small towns directly impacts the economic success of the state, the nation, and increasingly, even the world.
Iowa is the leading producer of soybeans in the United States. 1 out of about every 4 rows of soybeans planted in Iowa goes to China.
Grain prices in a lot of ways determine the incomes that farmers are going to make at the end of the year, and that impacts what they're going to be able to pay for taxes and what their share of the income tax is. You know, and if farmers aren't making money, then that has a direct impact on the state's budget.
And this is why our political leaders pay so much attention to what's on the minds of guys like these.
Hardly know what's going on down at the end of town there.
They have a lot of opinions.
I think all the Democrats are out of town, so we're pretty safe.
He's the oldest, but he's the wisest.
And whether they realize it or not, those opinions matter. One more point we wanted to bring up here. Traditionally, people who live in rural areas tend to vote Republican, while those in larger cities tend to lean to the left. That's definitely true if you look at the map right now in Minnesota. Now in Iowa, things are a little more, shall we say, purple. I asked the governor why he thinks that is, and to put it simply, he says it's because Iowans vote for the politician and not the politics. In Des Moines, I'm Colleen O'Shaughnessy, KIMT News 3.
And Governor Terry Branstad had much more to say about rural issues and the importance of keeping jobs in Iowa.
And you can see the full interview with the governor on KIMT.com. Look for it with this story under local news.